I have a secret to share with you. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to increase watch time with pattern interrupts in Descript. I'm Elise Michelle Nelson, YouTube business strategist and lead generator, which means I help you use video to create visibility and generate leads for your business. Today, I'm going to answer the question, what are pattern interrupts in videos? And how can I use pattern interrupts on YouTube to increase watch time? Let's start by defining pattern interrupts are visual changes in a video. They change what our eyes see and interrupt the tendency for our brains to tune out when something is overly consistent. The point of pattern interrupts is to build interest and keep attention where we want it on our videos. Now, let's dive into how to do that. The pattern interrupts that you can use in editing include zooming in and out, stickers and GIFs, B-roll, text, and transitions. So the very first one is zooming in or zooming out. So remember, a pattern interrupt is about changing what they're looking at. So if I'm looking at this video here, I'm at this distance. If I zoom this in, it's going to cause a change in the scene. So are you overworking yourself with to-do list overload? What I'm going to do is I want to make it so that part of the video is zoomed in more, kind of like how I just recorded this one where I was close to the camera, except I didn't do it when I was recording, so I have to do it in editing. In order to do that in Descript, you're going to need to add a new scene. And the way we do that is by adding one of these slashes. So I'm going to put my cursor where I want to add a new scene, and then I'm going to hit enter and I'm going to put a little slash. And you can see now I have 3 scenes instead of 2. Now, just a reminder, I did another video where I went through the basics of video editing and I talk about the layout of Descript and all of these things in that video. So if you aren't familiar with it, go back and watch that video to get some help to see what we're talking about. So I've added a new scene here. And now what I want to do is I want to make this first scene, which is this section here, be zoomed in. So I'm going to come over, first I'm going to put my cursor on the scene I want to be, or you can click here to be in the correct scene, or you can even click down here in the timeline to be in the correct scene. Any of those will put you into the correct scene. Then I'm going to click on the actual video element and I'm going to increase the size. So I can do that a couple of ways. I can simply drag like that and make it bigger, right? And then if I hit Control Z, I can undo it. Or I can come over here and I can actually go to the layout and I can increase the size here. So like you can see, I'm just clicking and dragging to increase the size. I can also click into it and put in a number. And right now it's linked, so it'll actually change the width and height when I do it. And I meant to make that a 3000. So that would make it bigger. So that's another option. I'm gonna undo that. The other option is you can actually click here and you can make it bigger. So as you can see, there's multiple ways that you can cause this zoom effect. Now, when I zoom it with this section, do you see how now part of my video is actually missing? So that's probably not the way you want to do this. I'll put it back to 100. I'm actually going to Control Z to go back to before I made that edit. You can use any of those ways of doing it. I typically like using this one. So let's try 3000. I think that's a little too close. Let's try 2700. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put it there. I'm going to line myself up where I want to be, and then we're going to come back over here. Hit space. Okay, so you can see I started out zoomed in and then I zoomed out. So that is one of the types of pattern interrupts that you can do. And you can simply put those cuts and then you're able to do the pattern interrupt of zooming in or out. So if you look at this one, there's what we call a cut, which a cut just means that there's a break in the video. And so we've made that cut by doing this zooming in and out. So the cut is that section right there where it jumps from one thing to the other. So that's called a jump cut. And there are a variety of cuts. I'm going to link you to a document in the description of this video where Descript talks about all the different kinds of cuts you can do. There are J cuts, L cuts, jump cuts, all sorts of things that you can use in editing. And they'll go into more details about how you can use each of those in that article. But for today, this specific type of cut where I've just put a slash and I've made it be zoomed in and zoomed out is one style of jump cut where it jumps from one scene to another scene and there's just this abrupt jump. You can sometimes use these to really drive home a point. So you might do multiples of these. So you start really zoomed in and then you zoom out, 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 or you start really zoomed out and you zoom in, and it can really emphasize a point. So there are tons of ways to use this kind of zoom in and zoom out in partnership with cuts to make a really dramatic thing happen in your videos. Before we continue, please like this video and comment with the words Descript editing to let me know you want more content just like this.
Another way that you can do zoom in and out is by using an animation. And so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna click on the video again. I'm gonna come over here to this side. You can see here's animations. And if I click a plus sign, I can add a zoom in, I can add a zoom and pan, I can add a spin. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a zoom in. And you can see these two little dots showed up. And this is going to make it so that it does the zoom. And it's gonna be more slower. So I'm gonna go ahead and click here at the beginning again. We're gonna go ahead and hit play.
Are you finding yourself bogged down in repetitive?
Okay, did you see how it zoomed in? That's the zoom in animation. And so it's more smooth instead of that jump cut style of adding that in. And then if you want to change it, you can actually move these so that they are doing it in a different place. You can actually grab this and move it around to where you want it to be. So now if we watch that same thing, do you see how now my head isn't cut off where it was cut off before? So by clicking on these different diamonds, you can actually change how it zooms in and all of those things. You can also click here to remove the animation. You can have, instead of easing in and out, you can do ease in, ease out, or linear. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove it because I don't actually want that one there. So those are two ways of doing zoom in and out and using specific types of cuts. We're gonna move on to the next style of pattern interrupt, which is a sticker or a GIF. So let's see, maybe on this word overload, I want to find someone carrying a lot of stuff. So I'm going to hit a slash so I make a new scene so that just on this word overload, I have a new scene. And then I make sure that I'm clicked into the word overload. I'm going to come up here because I'm going to source a GIF. So I'm going to go to GIF. I'm going to put overload, although probably a different word would be better. And you can either look at Giphy GIFs, which means there's a whole scene, right? So like this would be funny for overload. Here's someone carrying a bunch of bags. So I could choose one of these ones, or I can use a sticker, which means it's going to have a transparent background. So let's see. So I don't really like any of those. So I'm going to go ahead and try heavy bags and see what comes up. So like this person looks like they're really overloaded with stuff. I usually don't like using people because I don't like dealing with problems of copyrights or trademarks or whatever. Let's see, that's funny. So we want one that looks like it's super heavy. Don't really like the weightlifting ones. Okay, so I'm gonna go back up to that one that I saw here. I think this one is cute. So let's say I wanted to use this one. So I clicked it, you can see it put it in, and because it was a sticker instead of a regular GIF, the background is transparent. And then I can drag it and resize it and move it wherever I want it to go. So now let's go ahead and watch that.
Are you overlooking yourself with to-do list overload? Are you finding yourself bogged down by the
I recommend trying to find places to put a GIF that makes sense for whatever you're talking about. So like, I don't actually really love where I put that, but I just wanted to show you what it would look like. So I could go in and I could just go ahead and delete it if I decide I don't like it, just by clicking it and hitting the delete button. Let's see if we can find a good, so maybe like here where we're talking about working smart, I'm just gonna hit the little slash. And what'll happen is there's this scene and then there's this scene. But if I don't put another slash here, it's going to put whatever I do for the rest of the video, which I don't want. So I'm gonna go ahead, put another slash here. And the thing that I add will go in between the two slashes. So as long as I'm in between the two slashes, it'll go for that amount of space. So let's go ahead and do smart. I might try brain. So like here, I could use this little brain here. Any of these could work, right? Here, this one actually says smart. Let's use this one. And you can see it underlined because it's in that whole section. So again, I'm going to click on it. I'm going to resize it. I'm going to put it here. And if we watch, you'll see that it shows up right here at this slash and goes away at this slash.
Learning smart is not just about working smart. It's about making strategic decisions that not only alleviate your workload, but also enhance your business's ability to thrive in a competitive.
You can see that it is only during this section, and that's why you need to make sure you have a start and an end slash. I'm gonna go ahead and adjust this because sometimes in editing, being on the fast speed makes it freak out a bit and you can't really watch it very well. So I'm just slow it down for your guys. But when I'm editing, I pretty much always have this on 1.5 or 1.75 because it makes the editing faster every time I need to watch something. So we've now talked about zooming in and out. I've showed you two different ways to do that. We've talked about cuts. I'm going to give you a resource in the description that you can go and learn more about the different types of cuts. I've shown you how to add stickers and or GIFs. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss the videos that will help you with your YouTube lead generation strategy. Now let's talk about B-roll. So there are two types of video. There's A-roll and there is B-roll. A-roll is whatever the thing is that's actually connected to the audio. and to what's happening in the video. So in this instance, my talking head video is the A roll. It's the video that goes with what's happening. B roll would be if I add some additional video on top of this. So a lot of times you'll see this in videos in general, but this is a way for you to add in additional elements to again have a pattern interrupt that's going to keep holding attention. So I'm going to choose this space to add my B-roll because it's talking about being overwhelmed in your small business. And that's something that I think I can probably find a video that I'm able to use from somebody else. So I'm going to hit a slash here, and then we're going to put a slash here. And so again, I've got this section between the slashes is where I'm going to put this video. And again, click in the same place. I'm going to go to videos, and I'm going to put in overwhelm and see what comes up. Now, depending upon your level of Descript, how much you're paying per month, whether you're on the free version or one of the paid plans, you will have a different number of videos that'll be generated here. Because I'm on the highest paid plan, I get access to a whole bunch of videos, but you may find you don't have access to as many. So let's see here. Let's go ahead and use this one. And so it would look like this.
Firstly, this cohort is a beacon for those who are overwhelmed in their small business, providing a clear, manageable path forward. It's not merely about alleviating your current to-do list overload.
Okay, so I actually set this up wrong on purpose because you can see I'm talking about being overwhelmed, but then I'm talking about a clear, manageable path. And so we don't really want that video to still be playing in the part where I'm talking about a clear, manageable path, but it's already there. So if I click here, you can see there's the video. We don't want it there. So what do? When we look down in our timeline, you can see that this video is covering this whole section. And the only option is to delete it, and it'll delete it from the whole section. Or we could add a new slash, but that video is still on both sides of the slash because it was already there when we did it. So when we look at our scene, you can see it's on both of these now. So I'm gonna hit Control Z and undo that slash. So I took away the scene that I just added. And instead, I'm going to click on the element. So this could be for a GIF, this could be for a video, anything. I'm going to click on the element and I'm going to right click and hit copy. You can also use Control C as the shortcut key for this. So I've now copied this video that we added. I'm going to go ahead and now delete it. So I'm going to hit the delete button and it's now gone. You can see it's no longer here in the timeline. It's no longer showing over here in the scenes. And I'm going to go ahead and put a slash here. And then I'm going to click into this section again that's about overwhelm, and I'm going to hit Control V, which would be the same thing as right-clicking and hitting paste. And now you can see that this video is only in the section I want it in. And so I wanted to point this out because this is something that I see people struggle with quite a lot when using Descript. The other thing I see happen is they will be in the last scene, which I know there's one more scene here. They'll be in the last video scene, and they will put something in there, and it will last for the entire video, and that's not what they want. So this same strategy will work in that instance. So now let's look and see what this looks like.
Firstly, this cohort is a beacon for those who are overwhelmed in their small business, providing a clear, manageable path forward. It's not merely...
Okay, so now one other thing you might run into is you might run into having a video or a GIF that doesn't last as long as you want it to. So let's go ahead and go back to the example. I'm going to put the video in right here, and you can see, let's just pretend for the sake of argument that I want this video to last all this time, but it's not. So if I click on it, I can go up here to the duration and I can tell it to loop. And then you'll see it fills the whole rest of the video. And if I take it and I change it from loop to once, it's only lasting for that part of the video. So that's how you're going to extend the length of something, just make it be a loop if you want it to continue to play over and over again. I'm going to hit Control Z because I don't actually want that video there. So that is adding in B-roll. So this is taking some other video and adding it into the scene. And so again, we look over here at our scenes and you can see we're doing some changes here. So we started out closer, we got farther away, we added in this little dude, we added in this lady, and so we're getting more and more scenes for every pattern interrupt that we add. The next pattern interrupt that I want to talk about is text. So this is where you want to summarize something, you want to draw their attention to something, whatever the case may be, you're going to put text on the screen. And sometimes you can partner these. So for example, I have this caught in the cycle. I could totally see putting potentially text and like a little GIF showing cycle, right? So a summary is a good place to use text. This particular video doesn't actually have a good place to do like a summary, but it does have a place where I would want to put a link. So I'm going to go ahead and come to where I would put the link, and I'm going to go where I want to start, so with the slash, and then where I want to end. And then I'm gonna click inside of it, and I'm gonna add text, and I'm gonna put my scheduledbiz.com/cohort. And there's something weird about Descript here. I can't seem to change the size of this box right now. So I'm gonna click off of it and then click back into it, and then I'll be able to change the size of the box. And then to adjust the size, I can come over here and change it. You can change your fill color. So if I wanted this to be red for some reason, I don't. Put it back to white. You can also add a border so that it'll be easier to see. So you can see that made a huge difference. You can adjust the size of the border by going thicker or thinner. If you wanted to, you could do this. I have no idea why you would want to do that, but you can. I typically 10 seems to be a good size. You can also change the color of the border. I like it being black. You can add a background if you wanted it to be like this instead. And you can delete any of these. So I want to delete the background there. Now the background is gone. You can also add a shadow if you want. And if you want to change the font, you can change that here. You can also change if it is light, medium, etc. So I typically use I actually like Lato is what I usually use. So I usually use Lato, and I like mine to be, this is in the way, regular. And so there you go. So we've got Lato, regular with my fill on my border. And then you can click and drag and put this wherever you want it to show up. And that is adding text. And again, it'll only be during that section between the slashes.
Take this decisive step. Click the link below to apply for the YouTube Business Cohort and transform how you do business online. Let's make sure that by this time next year.
You can also add your own resources. So you don't have to just find them here in Descript. You can also add your own files. So if, for example, I wanted to go to files and I want to add, I can do that. So this is a file that I've intentionally made the background super bright green so it's easy to remove when I put it onto my video. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a new layer, and you can see it's only gonna go in between the slashes just like before, and you can't really see it right now. It's still loading. All right, so there are two ways you can try and fix this. Right now I can't see it, so give me just a second. There we go. So I clicked off and went back into it because for some reason it wasn't showing. So there's two ways you can get rid of this green. The first way is to try and use the green screen. So I already have that. It automatically comes up. I'm going to turn it on and see what happens. You can see nothing happened. You can try and adjust it here. Okay, so it says it's removing it. So we can give it a minute and see if it'll work. And I would say some of the times this works and sometimes it doesn't. You can see it removed everything. So that's not really what we want. We want to be able to see it. We can try and adjust it. So I'm just going to remove it. So now it's back. So that did not work. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. The other option is to do a chroma key. So I'm going to click on chroma key, and you can see the settings are already set so that it removes background but left the center. But if you needed to, you could adjust this. You could change the color, the similarity, the smoothness, all of these things in order to get it to do what you need it to do. And then I'm going to shrink it down because I don't need it to be that big. And I'm going to put it right here. And let's go ahead and see what that looks like.
This decisive step. Click the link below to apply for YouTube and transform how you.
So you can see in that one, it didn't last long enough. So I'm going to do what I showed you before. We're going to click on it. We're going to change it so that it is loop. And that way it'll fill out the rest of this thing.
Take this decisive step. Click the link below to apply for the YouTube Business Cohort and transform how you do business online.
That's adding text, that's adding B-roll, stickers, GIFs, cuts, zoom in and zoom out. So the last pattern interrupt we're going to be talking about is transitions. And so the transitions are going to change how it looks from one scene into another. It transitions what it looks like. So I'm going to do it between these two, between 7 and 8. So I'm starting on 7, which is the first one, but I want the transition to be here. So I'm going to click on the scene I want. I'm going to make sure I'm not selected on anything by clicking off. So if I'm clicked here, I can't see the transition. So I've got to click off of it. And then I have this transition option. So I'm going to hit plus side. And because I'm on number 7, which is first, I want to do a transition out. So it'll go between 7 and 8. If I do a transition in, it'll be between 6 and 7. So we're going to do an out transition, and we'll just do a cross zoom. And then we're going to go ahead and hit play.
Providing a clear, manageable path forward.
And did you see how it did that cross zoom in between? So that is a transition. So I can go ahead and delete that transition, and I'm going to let you see what it looks like without it.
Manageable path forward. It's not merely about.
You see how you can't see anything? There was no change there. So I wanted it to look different. I wanted a pattern interrupt. I wanted it to show something different. So I added a transition. So let's go ahead and test another transition to just show you a couple of the options here. Dip to color is one that people will use sometimes. So let's go ahead and try that. Providing a clear, manageable path forward. Did you see how it went to black and then came back? So that's dip to color. So you can play with these transitions in between scenes, especially if you end up having to cut something out. Sometimes doing a transition will make it look more smooth. And sometimes it's just a way to emphasize something that's going on. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that transition off because I actually don't want to use it. And so those are our pattern interrupts in editing. So we've talked about zoom in and zoom out, cuts, stickers and or GIFs, B-roll, text, and transitions. Those are our 6 pattern interrupts in editing.
In this video, we've focused on pattern interrupts that can be added in our editing. But there are also pattern interrupts that can be added during shooting. If you'd like to learn more about these, click the link in the description of the video to learn all about the 9 keys to editing your videos.
I'm so glad we get to live our dreams together every single day. I hope to see you next time.